Hello and welcome. I'm Nicola from nicolanewman.com and I'm thrilled that you're here because I can't wait to share with you my love of painting and creativity. Now perhaps you've never painted before or you don't even think of yourself as creative, but you're curious to know if it's something that you can learn. Or maybe you loved painting when you were back at school, but since you've left and become an adult, all these pressures have come on you and you're wanting to find a way to reignite your old passion. Or maybe you're already very creative and you're looking for another string to add to your bow. In this video, I'm going to share with you the 8 elements that I've found as a professional artist that are integral to being able to flourish with painting and creativity. And in the next video, we're going to go on an adventure. We're going to go painting outdoors and I'm going to tell you about some of the simple tools and things that you need to know in order to have a successful plein air painting adventure. Now let's dive straight into element number 1. The first thing that I've found that's really important if you want to flourish with painting and creativity is you need to create some form of studio. So this might not be a large space that's dedicated purely to your art practice, but it can be as simple as your kitchen table. It could be a corner of your bedroom, or it could even be a wall in your garage. There's a few things that I've found though that you need to have in place in order to really flourish in your own studio at home. And those things are, you need some privacy. So ideally you want to be able to have a space where you can close the door and you can work at your own pace, you can turn off the phone and you can really allow yourself to be absorbed in the process. Secondly, you want to have some form of practical elements in place. So you need good lighting, you need some ventilation, and you need to have your storage worked out. So right now I'm sitting in my beautiful new studio, but it wasn't always like this. My very first studio was actually under my house and I actually dug out the floor of it so that I had enough headroom to be able to stand up. So it doesn't have to be amazingly illustrious or perfect, but you just need a space that has those things of ventilation, lighting and some storage. So the second element that you need to be able to flourish with painting and creativity in your life is a sense of play. So as adults, it's so easy to be bogged down in the seriousness of responsible adult life. But if we remember back to being children, we remember that it was easy to play and we watch the kids in our life and we see that kids play and that naturally overflows into being enormously creative. Kids are always drawing and painting and trying new things because they don't have this pressure on themselves that it has to be perfect. So the beauty of approaching painting and creativity with a sense of play is it opens up the door for experimentation. And that is where true creativity lies. So the third element that I've discovered is enormously helpful in supporting me to flourish with painting and creativity is playing with acrylic paint. Now I recommend to all my students that they start with acrylic paint because they're so easy to use. They're quick to dry, they're easy to clean up, you just wash the brushes with water and you can get involved in beautiful colour mixing and really make some amazing paintings from the get-go. So after you've had a play with acrylic paints, then it's time to move on to element number 4, which is playing with oil paints. The beauty of oil paints is that you can achieve incredible effects and translucency and layering that you just simply can't achieve with acrylic paints. Oil paints have a really buttery, beautifully smooth consistency that when you're applying it to the canvas, it's like nothing that you've ever tried before. So the 5th element is freedom. The beauty of painting and creativity is it allows us to step into a sense of freedom that is really difficult to achieve in any other areas of our life. You know, when you're at work, you have to do things in a certain way, but when you step into the space in front of a blank canvas and you allow yourself to express yourself, all of a sudden you're stepping outside of the box. There's no limits as to what you're allowed to create. So when it comes to freedom, I've found that it's really important to be gentle with myself, and that's what I love to teach my students is the power of gentleness and how that leads into more freedom on the canvas and in our lives in general. So the 6th element is inspiration. Every creative person needs inspiration. And the way that I've found an unending flow of inspiration in my creative practice over a decade has been painting about things and creating about things that I love. Now for me personally, that means nature and getting outdoors and having adventures outside. I can't believe how much nature fuels my inspiration. So if you're looking to find inspiration, it's really important to know what you love. It's about knowing yourself and being true to yourself. As an artist, I've found that it's really, really valuable to turn upside down our usual society's hierarchy of values. So often it's easy to think, I should do this and I have to do that, and have all these to-do lists that are obligations in life. And we push down and we don't listen to the little, still small voice that says, what if? Or how about I find out more about this thing? And following down the rabbit holes into our curiosities is actually what can fuel our inspiration. And when we are feeling inspired, then we're feeling passionate. And as I love to quote from Oprah Winfrey, she says, "Passion is energy. Feel the energy of focusing on what excites you." So the seventh element is growth. Naturally, over time, we're all going to experience growth as creative beings. And part of the journey involves criticism. Now, this can come from others and it can come from inside our own head as well. And we need to know how to protect ourselves from it at certain stages in the creative process, and also when to embrace it, because it can actually help us to grow as creative types as well. The other element to growth is understanding about originality and understanding how it is that we can all develop and grow our own style by following in the footsteps of people and creators who have gone before us. And finally, with growth, it comes to knowing when to stop. When is a painting finished? When is a creative project done? So the eighth and final element that I've discovered in order to be able to flourish with painting and creativity is understanding the value of rhythms. So when I say rhythms, I'm talking about appreciating the seasons in our creative life so that we can carry on and sustain our creativity. I've found that it's really important to be able to put projects down and pick them up again, and in between times to cultivate rest and play in my life. So in summarising those 8 elements again, there was studio, you need a good place to paint. You need to approach it with a sense of playfulness. It's a great idea to start with acrylics and then move into oils. After that, to nurture the freedom in your life, you need to also keep filling up your own inspiration. And finally, there's a natural growth that happens in our creative life, and we can sustain our creativity through appreciating and honouring the rhythms. So I really hope that those 8 elements have helped you in some way to gain some clarity around how to flourish with painting and creativity. And I would love to hear from you. In the comments below, feel free to share which of those elements resonated the most with you. And stay tuned, because in the next video coming out in a couple of days, I'll be popping back with some tips and inspiration to go on a painting adventure outdoors. I'm Nicola Newman. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll talk to you again soon.